this in the contracts that the RACs received. TETAF pushed the issue and asked the question to dishes, knowing that we may not get the answer that we necessarily want, but can the RACs use the state funds, their restricted funds, to pay subscription fees to TETAF? Kathy Perkins has told me that the RACs will no longer be able to use their restricted funds to pay subscription fees to TETAF. That poses some interesting challenges for us. Somebody asked me last week how I thought what the ruling was going to be on this, and I said I really could go either way, and I was prepared for either direction. That's not to say that I know exactly what we're going to do at this point in time, how we move forward. I recognize completely that each one of the RACs are very, very unique, and I understand that there are RACs that do not have unrestricted funds, and even those that do have unrestricted funds, those funds aren't just sitting there. I recognize that they're being used, and so this is a critical point in TETAF's future. But I'm thrilled that this did not happen a year ago or a year and a half ago. I feel like we're on much more solid footing as an organization. I think we will adjust, and I guess there's almost a sense of relief with all of this, because as a former lobbyist, I've spent a lot of time almost apologizing for my legislative background and expertise because of the tie with the RACs, and I don't want to get the RACs in trouble because I don't want to lobby too much, or I don't want to advocate too much. I think if anything, this allows us to be what TETAF always wanted to be, which was a strong advocate, a strong voice for the EMS, trauma, and acute care world. So I think, from that standpoint, I really feel like it gives us that opportunity to, hey, and we can still, we can be that strong advocate and still be within our 501c3 status with the IRS. So I think there's some real opportunities. But again, I don't know what the answer is about how we will make up the funds that we currently bring in from our subscription fees. It does amount to $126,000, or it did for last year, so it's not chump change. But with the restructuring of our survey fees last year, we are on much better financial footing at this point in time. So there are copies, and just so you all, there were, let's see if I have it, the government code that Kathy pointed to was, it's section, if you look up, if you do a Google search, it's government code chapter 556.0055. And what she pointed to was restrictions on lobbying expenditures. A political subdivision or private entity that receives state funds may not use the funds to pay. And she points to subsection 4, a person or entity that has been hired to represent associations or other entities for the purpose of affecting the outcome of legislation, agency rules, ordinances, or other government policies. So when this was pointed out to her, this section of the government code and their attorneys, this is where they're falling on, that the RACs can't use the restricted funds. So again, the hope is with all of this happening, just this is very current information. The board has not had time to digest this. We did not spend any time on this at our strategic planning meeting just a few weeks ago. And I think all things will be considered about how we move forward. We want the input, obviously, of the RACs. The last thing that I will say about this is even if we just completely did away with subscription fees, the challenge is much greater than just losing those budget dollars. TETAF, its foundation as an organization is the RACs. The RACs elect the board members. Our bylaws are all about the RACs supporting this organization. And so once those dollars go away, as you all know, your master becomes who pays the bills. And I think the vision and mission of TETAF is to represent EMS, trauma, and acute care. And through the RACs, that has worked well. And so that is almost a more significant dilemma of how do you structure then the bylaws and who is your membership, who is the organization of TETAF. And I would still say it's all of you, but how we get there, I think there's still a lot of questions about that. Madam Chair, do you want to entertain?
I just think that the board is going to have to, the board is going to plan a meeting probably sometime in early March, middle March, to sit down and really review this. So again, it's new information, it was potentially anticipated, but we need to absorb this and look at the long-term impact on the organization.
And I guess I'll ask, are there any, have I made something very gray? Can I clarify anything? I've tried to share everything that Kathy, I guess one thing that I did not say is that Kathy shared this with me verbally. She is going to do a follow-up letter, an official letter from the state, which with GTAC and everything this week, I don't anticipate this week. But as soon as we get that, we will share that with all of you. The issue does not affect any of the subscription fees that we have received in 2011. So it's from this point forward, this is the decision of dishes, because in 2009 we actually got a ruling or a statement from dishes that using subscription fees was okay. So it's moving forward, and I did get some clarification from Kathy on that today. Yes, Christine. Absolutely. I appreciate that.
I think it's real important that no one leaves today thinking that the RACs are no longer going to be participating with TETAF, nor should anyone leave thinking that the RACs are not going to come up with a way to figure this out. We very much support TETAF. We very much like the synergy that happens here, and we heard it today for the first time, so there's not been any opportunity to think this through, but we are a supporter of TETAF.
As far as moving forward, if I'm a hospital that's currently getting a discount and my payment to TETAF is due next week, will we just keep on doing the discount, or is that a discussion at this special called March meeting, or is it, what are your thoughts?
I think your question is pertinent right now because, I mean, you're right. We do have invoices and contracting that continues. What I would, and Brenda and I haven't talked about this piece, but my assumption would be to continue as the facilities that are in the subscribing entities, that they were subscribers for 2011, and so there's an assumed status. But that is another issue as we move forward. The survey fees are based on a subscription fee discount, and so we'll have to figure all of that out. But I think that is ultimately a board decision on how we proceed at this point. And Christine and Daryl, I appreciate y'all's comments, and I think, you know, the thing that I've just stressed to everybody is everything's on the table and nothing's on the I mean, it's just, we're at that starting over point. And the great thing is I mean, I really, I called Brenda as soon as I got this news, Brenda and Jory, and almost instantly, Brenda was, we both were very matter of fact about it, and then I was asking her what she wanted for lunch almost in the same breath. So I think we're just, we sort of knew it was coming, and I'm very thankful for this board and the board members that came before, putting TETAF on some financial stability in the last year. I made the comment to several, if this had happened at this time last year, I'm not so sure that my attitude would have been the same, but this past year I think has been very significant in just the foundation of this foundation and us being able to move forward. So
I think it's very important that we all just be very transparent, because, again, this is just something new to us. This organization, the value, to be honest, was the involvement of all of the RACs. The RACs bring the stakeholders that we need at the table. And so the concern is, you know, if we restructure some of the membership, then perhaps we might lose some of the value and the momentum from the RACs. And we strongly believe that the RACs are the foundation for this organization. So, again, everybody needs to put their thinking caps on. It's not the end of the world. My comment to Dinah is, it is what it is. Let's figure out what's the next step and move forward. So that's what we intend to do.
I guess, yeah. And I guess we'll hold the discussion about the survey fees and those for the action items later. Okay, we will move into, I've asked Dan to give us an update on our funding opportunities. And while we bit off a pretty big bite of the apple with the CMS Healthcare Innovation Challenge grant opportunity, there are still several other things that we are working towards, and I was thrilled after Brenda and I were catching our breath, and Dan as well. I checked in with him last week and on some different grant opportunities. It's like, oh yeah, I checked on that one, I checked on that one. And so there's still a lot going on, and we don't have all of our eggs in just the one basket. But I'm going to ask Dan. He's put together a presentation, and Dan, come on up. Y'all will probably recognize Dan's accent as one from West Texas, but East Texas. Okay, but it's far, far east. Dan is a surgeon by training in Romania, and came over to the States some time back and got his PhD, and he has just been instrumental. We would have never been able to get in an application for the CMS grant and just the different opportunities that are out there. And I think one of the most important things about when we look to Dan is looking at how do we pool all of our efforts through Dan and his expertise with grants. And I think there's a lot of opportunity out there. So, Dan Kulik.
Thank you. What I was planning to do, Diana asked me to go over the funding opportunities and also talk a little bit about the entire concept of the grant that we just submitted, so everybody would know. They won't spend too much time about it. So the way I started, it's to list everything that I was able to grab in these 2 months since I've been with TETAF in terms of people and relations and connections that I would label them as potential funding sources. And I organized them by the the ability that I had to get in contact with different people. So this one, it's a list of people that I've been calling at HRSA, at Health Resources and Services Administration. I'm pretty sure that everybody is familiar with all the names and the acronyms, but for the sake of it, I will just mention them. So these are the names that I have been able to contact, and they are working with the EMS and different sections of the EMS that are part of HRSA. And I was inquiring what is the mechanism of us as a 501c(k), a non-profit, to get funded. And of course, one source is to go through them, but every type of grant that will come from HRSA would be announced through the grants.gov, which we are signed up for. So they almost release their update almost every day. But they also referred me to the HRSA office in our regional office, which is in Dallas. And Princess Jackson is the head of the operations there. I already spoke with them. And can we move next? And then they indicated some other type of resources that they would have that would be available for us through HRSA, but at the state level. So the one example is, and probably people, I mean, our colleagues that work at the dishes might, I'm sure they might know more about this. It's the Medical Rural Hospital Flexibility Grant, and it's coming through the Office of Rural Health. And they also gave me the name of the Flex Coordinator for Texas. And also they mentioned about another grant that was sort of almost in the same time with the one that we submitted, which is a community-based outreach grant. And also they gave me the name of the person that we can be in touch. So these are people that I'm going to call from now on and find out what will be available, what do we qualify for, what can we apply, and then obviously I will present that to the board, and the board will decide which one we can go on. Next. Then there is the hospital preparedness program. I called these folks, and they gave me, again, this is a more of a laundry list. It's a contact list. It's of people that I plan to call and find out what do they have for us. But from what I heard from the discussions in these 2 months since I've been connected with TETAF, is I go to the meetings at the North Central BRAC in Dallas, and I know that there is a large hospital preparedness program, and I'm sure that there will be other people that will know of resources, of sources, of connections that can help us. And mostly the reason I put this list together is to inform you what has I been able to find, and maybe some of you know some of these people, or maybe some of you know other people, and please tell us and help us to identify as many sources and resources as possible so we can select from. Next one is the continuation of the names of the people for each section of the hospital preparedness program that I plan to contact as well. Then I got a call from this lady, Susan McHenry, who is an EMS specialist at NHTSA, and she was extremely nice, and she showed me the line of funding that they have and the type of programs, and they also suggest that after I go through all that sort of background material, to get in touch with the representative at the state level as being the next step to approach. And I'm more than sure that you or somebody in the board knows these folks. And the applications usually are on or before June 15th. So if something comes from that line of funding, we definitely have time to apply for it. Next one. Oh, these are the listservs that I sign up for. So everything that you see here, I get them at home, and I mean on my laptop. And these are newsletters with announcements about future funding opportunities. Next. This is a non-profit organization, but it's a private organization basically that has these three types of sources of funding, in order to get them, we need to pay for them. So this is more for the information of the board, whether the board considers that there will be a good investment. Then these are the fees, and they offered $279 for a month for the Federal Foundation Assistance Monitor, $249 for private grant alerts, and then if we get those, then they will give us a discount for 3 months for the community health funding report. And probably some of you are familiar with all these sources. And there is also another report that is for children and youth funding. And this is a list that I put together for what might come on that would be strictly related with funding from the Healthcare Reform Act. And of course, everything that's related to acute care, to trauma care, or to EMS. I would say that the Section 3503, we already addressed it with this grant. The grants on or contracts to implement medication management or services in the treatment of chronic diseases. And I will go over the grant, and this is the geriatric care that we designed addresses that. And then Section 3504 is competitive grants for regionalized system for emergency response. And there are 24 million for each year, and who can apply is a region of multiple counties or states. So anyway, every single row you see here, we qualify to apply for that. We just need to find out how these funds will be delivered and how they will be announced. And usually all the announcements come through the grants.gov that we get information about it. Next. So that's all about the sources of funding. And again, as you saw them and you think that you might know somebody, please let us know. Or if you know anybody else in addition to those, to the list that I presented, this is all that I know of. This is all that I have. But anything else will come in addition will be very, very helpful. So I'll stop here for a second. Do you have any questions? Or comments? Or suggestions? If not, I don't want to take too much of your time. I just want to present to you the grant that we submitted on January 27th. This was a solicitation for an application from the CMS, the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services. It's part of the, you probably have heard about the Innovation Challenge Grant. And there are, from what I was told, 8,000 applications from all over the country for $30 billion. And what we proposed was, and this is a driver diagram of the entire project, is to create a geriatric injury and illness management system at the state level based on what exists now, or the entire infrastructure that has been provided by the trauma system. And the primary drivers would be to, the grant is for 3 years. The primary drivers would be to establish each year 3 geriatric networks, one for each year of the project. Of course, the aim would be that we will do 3 in the first year, 3 in the second year, and potentially the rest in the third year. The second driver would be to develop a training and education platform for the people that would participate in this network. And then the third element, structure element, or the primary driver would be to design geriatric unit through design a designation process for these geriatric units that will be created. And then each one of the primary driver has secondary drivers. For example, in order to establish the geriatric network, we need to identify the EMS, the RACs, and the hospitals that want to be part of this project. And for the training and education platform, the entire idea and the entire grant, it's about creating a geriatric response team or multidisciplinary team. And then identify the providers that would be participating in this project, and then train them, and then prepare and train future providers for the year 2 and year 3. And then for the designation process of the geriatric units that will be developed, then criteria have been already sort of drafted for each level EMS, RACs, and hospitals. So in a nutshell, this is the structure of the entire grant. The grant was 70 pages and consisted of 40 pages of narrative and then 30 additional pages which were supporting documents. The next thing I want to show you is what we had to, next slide please, what we had to do to show CMS that we can make an impact. And of course CMS, like any type of financial institution, has this business model that they wanted to see that what kind of impact we are doing in terms of costs. And what they recommended is to calculate for whatever we want to do the total cost of care. What we proposed in the application is that through the design of this geriatric system at state level, we would be able to make an impact on the quality of care, on health outcomes, on the cost, but how is by mainly reducing the length of hospital stay for people that would be over 65 with 1 day. And what we were planning is to aim for a reduction of 20% in the first year, 50% in the second year, and 100% in the third year. This formula shows what the way that CMS wanted us to calculate the total cost of care. So what we did, we took all the people that were 65 years and older for the last year that we had data available, which was 2010. Look at the total number of beneficiaries, the unit cost of inpatient hospitalization, and the total count of annual hospital days. So we came out that with this number, which is the one that CMS is interested, which is the total cost of care per beneficiary per year, which was $50,734. If we can move to the next slide now. This is the impact that we hope to have. So the current program census shows what's going on. What do we have now? What would we have in each year if the picture would be like it is now? And what would happen with the new system that will be created? So if you remember, the total cost of care is $50,000 per unit of cost, per unit of analysis, which in our case it's 1 hospital day. So the total cost for 1 year it's $37 billion, and then we assume that this will be the use of utilization every single year. Now with our impact, we propose that we would reduce the number of hospital days 20% in the first year, 50% in the second year, and 100% in the third year. That will lead to an impact of a total cost of $90 billion. Compared to what it is now, which is $112 billion, the difference would be almost $20 billion if the project goes as we planned. And is there any next slide? No, that's it. So thank you. Questions? No, it's a reduction in the length of stay with 1 day. That's the aim. Thank you. Well, I need to thank the board and everybody that that helped with it, with writing this grant. I mean, it was a tremendous effort in less than 2 months, basically in 1 month, and I think it a huge contribution we had from the board meeting that was in January. That was the time when we had the chance to discuss in the entire group what the concept is, and also I was sort of screaming for data. It was, and it would have been for Rico, wouldn't have the data, and we got it like a day before we submitted, but was right in time to assemble everything that we needed. Thank you. And not to mention Dinah and Brenda, who were totally instrumental.
We're very, very proud of the grant that we submitted, and whether we are granted this award or not, the program is worth pursuing. We may have to do it in small bits and pieces, but we think we are on to something, and we appreciate any input from anyone. And if anyone's interested in participating in the program, just let us know. We're going to work through how we're going to roll this out.
Yes.
We're going to develop a process to gather data, and we want to begin with those RACs who already have regional registries in place so we can collect the data. We hope within a year we will have our own True Texas data that we can use to support the program. It's worth pursuing, and I think we can accomplish what we're setting out to. And truly our objective is to improve the patient care for the geriatric patient in Texas. That's our objective. And save the hospital dollars is what we want to do.
Thank y'all. And Dan mentioned Rick and his ability to help get us data. We had put all this together, and it was all sounding really good, but it comes down to the numbers and what are you going to save and what are the dollars. And Rick and the Dallas-Fort Worth Hospital Council, they came through at the last minute and provided us data, and we were able to run these numbers. And I appreciate so much Dan and his expertise to be able to come up with the numbers and to be able to validate them. I mean, that's what it comes down to. So we're proud of the work. It's not, it's an ambitious opportunity. So we'll see. Keep our fingers crossed. Jim Parisi is not here this evening, our treasurer, but I will report for him. The board has been supplied with a sort of a summary of the financials through December. We don't have January yet, but I wanted to report the summary of the income and expenses for the fiscal year to date. Our actual figures are on track with budgetary expectations, and obviously there's a new little blip, and we'll work through that. But the actual year-to-date income is $270,274 compared to an annual income budget of $870,210. Actual year-to-date expenses are $207,967 compared to an annual expense budget of $776,707. Our net income to date is $67,764. And keep in mind, because of the way we operate with getting survey fees in, and then the survey expenses comes sometime later. Sometimes it can be days later, but we get our survey fees usually a couple months in advance. That net income does not reflect the expenses that have been taken from those surveys yet. But so far we're doing pretty good, but and we'll work through the subscription fee issue.
For the Secretary's report, all I have is we have a copy of the last meeting minutes, which was held on It was a conference call held on January the 4th, so I guess we need to review those and have those formally approved. Your call. Do it now. Is there a motion to approve the minutes? Rick? Okay.
Not voting members who approve, please say aye. Anyone opposed? Anybody in the audience know who the voting members are? Motion passed.
Okay. That brings us to the open discussion. I don't know if you wanted to discuss the 20-year anniversary.
Sure. So, anybody have any ideas? Throw a party? Yeah, sounds like fun. As long as there's no alcohol and driving. Anybody have any ideas? Some of you have been on this journey as long as I have, so I know you've got some ideas. No? Have anything else you want to talk about? Did we feed you a little bit and you go to sleep? So I can just go row by row. We have this thing at Parkland called Volunteer Voluntold. Terry. Any recommendations? Any thoughts? Terry in front. Terry in gray will be next. Terry Valentino. Robin Gates. Incorporate things from the beginning. Wanda? Engage the legislators?
Stab a couple of them.
Did you
Bring
mean?
them back.
Did you mean roast them?
We could roast. We could stab. Oh, you're recording. You're recording. I was just kidding. I was just kidding. For the record, I'm just kidding. Not about the recording. Just kidding.
We'd have to figure out how to fund it, that's for sure.
For GTAC, and it is EMS. I think this year it's the week before EMS week, or maybe 2 weeks before EMS week. And then it's also Trauma Month, and does Nursing Week still fall in May as well? See, nurses glomming onto EMS again, and so that just kind of went whoo. But I think we need to do something during May. I think last year's fundraiser was a big hit, and I think doing something like that would both be celebratory but possibly a fundraiser would be a cool idea. And then I think we need to do something in conjunction with the conference in November, and just kind of hit it twice. And that as well could be, I mean, if that's not as much fundraising but maybe more social, that's fine too. But trying to do that twice, I don't think would be too over the top, as long as it was designed, and probably at least attempted to pay for itself.
I don't know if I'm supposed to say this or not, but I will. I heard that because of the Formula One race, oh, that's already out there? Good. Good, okay. That the EMS conference will be held a week earlier, not Thanksgiving week. Yay. Oh, okay. yeah, don't change your plans yet. But I think, I guess my thought is that opens up some opportunities. Oh, okay. But that opens up some opportunities, because when we've looked at fundraisers in conjunction with EMS conference, it's pretty condensed, and with Thanksgiving and everything else, there might be some real opportunities.
Well, let me ask this. Does anybody want to work on a planning committee? Terry, you got volunteered just because we're going to teach men how to do this. Terry? I know Steve Yonda's working on a historical document to publish in the Texas EMS magazine and trying to locate the history. I know of the trauma system and the TTCF and several other things. Anybody else want to work on the group?
I was going through a box that was given to me as the Texas Trauma Coordinators Forum's president, and as far back as I go is 1997, so I'm not near close to the initial blast off, but there are like newsletters with people's names in there that we could do. We did have this discussion at the Texas Trauma Coordinators Forum today and at their board meeting last night, and they initially wanted to do something in November because that's when their charter was filed 20 years ago. And then we also discussed doing something in May because of the National Trauma, or the Trauma Awareness Month, and pretty much left today saying that we would like to participate in something in May, partner with somebody in May, and then also do a TTCF, something in November, so to recognize their charter. So Cheryl Dykes has been charged with putting their planning committee together, so she would probably be a good planning committee member for TETAFs. And I think that was the flavor of the discussion at the end of the conversation earlier today.
And you could almost argue that the May piece is the trauma EMS world to the outside world, where there's advocacy and letters to the editor and here's what we do and capital and barbecue and treating the legislator as well. And then November is us celebrating. It's kind of, what we've done in our celebration of successes in terms of the trauma system. And, just thinking Texas has a lot of the early pioneers in trauma globally, internationally. And it might be kind of interesting to spotlight some of them and kind of hey, do you remember when, you never used to have to wear gloves and mask pants worked, and, I've heard, but might be nice to collaborate. I like your idea, Dudley, about putting everybody together to talk to the outside world once and then celebrate amongst ourselves at the conference too as well.
Any other discussion? Any other items? Yes. Stand up. Introduce yourself. Welcome, Chris. We're certainly into that. We'll listen to you all day long. Pretty much all of us want to talk to you and everybody else about that. There's an injury prevention committee. There's an injury prevention division. Chris has been in this role, 6 months, a year? 2 months. So he came to the trauma program manager's course, and so he's seeking information. So I congratulate you for being here. So, Mary Ann, raise your hand in the air. Who are the other injury prevention people in the room? Debbie Nichols. There's 1, 2, or 3 behind you. Courtney's not here. Anybody else on this side? Where'd Tara go? Tammy? Perhaps you can meet with Chris when this is over so he can get names and contacts. Thank you, Chris. Any other open discussion? Jackie. Well, if we're going to do it, you got to start it now. There was a lot of controversy about that, and the controversy was where and the cost, and to try to do something that everybody could participate in. It was really hard to get the cost down to a reasonable price. So that the word black tie makes people question. I will tell you that Ken Maddox hosted the AAST in Houston and did a black tie jeans thing, so you had to wear a tux, but everybody had on boots and jeans, and I've seen a lot of things happen there. That was a lot of fun. So there are alternatives to that. So anything else? Anybody? This is your time to talk. This is your organization. Wendy, anything going on in West Texas that we need to know about? Melissa, how about San Antonio? Good. Excellent. Roy, the Valley? Pioneer here.
For the record, I've worn gloves all my career. All right.
Yes. Congratulations. Wonderful. Yay! Anybody else have anything they want to celebrate?
Today, at the February TTCF meeting is typically when we announce the selection of that group's Trauma Person of the Year. And the award this year went to Janet Pointer for several reasons. One is she's not designated yet as a level 3 trauma center, but she's been through that designation survey process, and it's kind of, I think it's just pending the formal announcement. So that was an accomplishment that she made this year, and then also just from her work as committee chair of the pediatric committee for that TTCF organization and the mentorship she provides to the general trauma nurses in that organization as far as pediatric care and stuff. So when y'all see her, tell her 2 things: congratulations, and also tell her wish her well, because she also announced today that she would be leaving Texas and trauma for the most part for other opportunities. So wish her congratulations and farewell and good luck.
I wanted to bring up the fact that Sean Carter walked down the hall with it, and it was just the most remarkable thing. When y'all were starting your division meetings, I walked out of here, and he and Jenny were walking down the hall. So he is not in his big chair, and just about the most exciting thing I've seen in a long, long time. Well, it's for the webcast.
We're very proud to share with everybody that Sean and I have been chosen as TxDOT's Faces of Drunk Driving, and there are PSAs that will come out. Now we hear it's going to be in March, around spring break, that you'll be seeing on television. Of course, It's anti-drunk driving and riding with drunks. And we also are going on our two-person injury prevention roadshow as far as Alabama, Mississippi, North, and South Carolina. We'll be speaking at more than 20 venues in the month of March. So we're really proud. And we have a 501c3 now, too, that will fund brain injury research. And what we're going to do is hopefully raise $500,000, and we're going to give half to UTMB School of Physical Therapy and half to UT Southwestern School of Physical Therapy to start actively offering exercise programs for people with traumatic brain injury. Sean's been in his chair for 7 years in March, and now we can walk downstairs. So it's pretty awesome.
Is there a motion to adjourn? Oh, you want to talk about that? I don't know how to talk about those survey fees until we talk about it. Thank you, Dudley. That's so true. It was brought to my attention we still have work to do. I was ready to go. So you want to talk about the subscription fees now?
Actually, it's the surveys. We have our set survey fees, and we offer a discount for those facilities that are located in subscribing racks. And so the question is, because we don't have a subscription fee notice that's going out currently, I guess the question to the board would be, should we just maintain, if you were a subscriber in 2011, that you continue to get the subscribing rate until we determine what the next step is?
Can we make a timeline for either the next 6 months or to the end of December 2012? Because we don't know exactly what we're going to be doing or what we're going to look like. Right.
It's not fair to our members who have basically stood by us to change that if we have a plan about how we're going to do it. Once we have that, I think that's when we address it with the hospitals that need service. I mean, I know they have to plan ahead, but to me, we're just going to plan a little bit faster ahead.
Right. I know that some may not know this, but for those level 3s and level 4s in the room, you have to have your application in a year in advance. So that's a big deal. What do you want to do? Can we have a motion in your comments, Dudley?
I make a motion that we continue with our current fee structure for surveys until the board reaches a decision on how it's going to be.
Is there a second? Any discussion on that? All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, please say aye. Motion passes. Okay. Talk about the next meeting.
Yeah, just to make sure that everybody is aware, we have updated our schedule of meetings this year. We don't have nearly as many meetings, yay, but we will be meeting by conference call in March. We do not have an April conference call or face-to-face meeting, but we will hold the next TETAF meeting on May 8th, and it will be here at the Hilton again. And again, the reason that we've done that is for the webcasting, to be able to do that. I know that there are several board members that are out there watching us, and others, and so we appreciate y'all listening in. And for those that are taking notes, it's always nice to go back and hear what was actually said. So we have found that the viewership on the meetings, the webcasting has been pretty significant so far, and so we're very pleased with this. The viewing that's taken place. What we anticipate is in May that we will have that as a subscriber-only function. So again, that will be something that, you know, for 21 of the 22 racks that will be available, but just trying to make sure that as subscribers or whatever that becomes, that you're getting more bang for your buck than the average Joe. So that's it.
The next item says priorities for the next meeting, so obviously the priority is going to be the funding issue. So we will schedule something and send out the notice, and again, all of our meetings are open meetings if anybody wants to participate. Okay. Now, can there be a motion for adjournment? A second? All those in favor, please say aye.